Hi everybody, this is Lainey from Camp Joy Farms. I'm sitting outside today with you just for a few minutes. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about discernment, about how to use our own discernment from our personal observations and our personal experiences to make our own decisions about what is going on in the world, what we should do about it, how we should protect our families, and things like that. I'm saying this because I know that a lot of videos, and I personally agree with most of these videos, are giving us warning signs about things that are coming financially, food-wise, livestock-wise, agricultural business type issues, political. Really and truly, you could get up every day and just have your head spinning from all the different headlines and different information coming at you. And rather than be fearful, or rather than let each little headline you see lead you this direction or the other, I just thought I'd give you my thoughts on how I kind of deal with it sometimes. Because I do see in a lot of the comments on a lot of the videos that a lot of people are saying, well, my store's fine, or I haven't seen this or that, or I just don't see the inflation you're talking about, or I'm watching the gas prices fall, so everything's probably, good. And I do get that. And really and truly, sometimes I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of people that can kind of just live in that peace, of not worrying about anything, because that's really not how God hardwired me. And when I say that, I don't mean worrying pointlessly, running around, just flailing, worrying about things. That's not how I am. The way God hardwired me was to sometimes be just observant. Even as a young child, I didn't really read the silly books, things like that, which, are fine. I read a lot of the biographies and autobiographies, the true stories about people's lives and about their suffering. Just growing up, I read lots of things about the Holocaust. I was just interested in things like that. I read lots of Civil War history and just the stories of how people made it through those times and how they survived. I grew up on the Laura Ingalls books, which to me, even though she made them interesting and turned them into stories, they're a basically really good historical record for how times were at certain points in history and how families, and that individual family in particular, got through those times. And I have found in my life that those things that I read, that I followed and just was interested in, like the Ingalls family and all, throughout many, many years of my life, those lessons have kind of served me well in this day and time, in this point in my life, to kind of understand that times aren't always just wonderful. They're just not always wonderful. And sometimes individually as a family because of situations, a community because of a flood or different things as we've had happen here in Louisiana, or as a nation, sometimes things just go wrong. And sometimes it can last for a good long while before they'll get right again. I don't know that I want them to go back to the way they were whenever they're right again. I want it to be better. But I also know that to get to that point of being better, our country may have to go through a time of suffering. And so that's the little point I wanted to talk to you about today. But instead of me just sitting here talking about it, I wanted to give you a visual. There is a painting that has meant a lot to me in my life. And I bought a book at one point called Sister Wendy's Story of Paintings. And it was a wonderful book. I loved it. It just gave a chronological history of art and paintings. And one of them in that book was called Blindman's Buff. Not Blind Man's Bluff, as in the game, though I do think this same artist painted some paintings called Blind Man's Bluff. But this is called Blindman's, one word, Buff. Here's a picture of the painting right now. I want to give you just a few seconds to look at it and kind of visually just see what I'm talking about with this painting. But then I want to talk to you a little bit about the meaning behind that painting. Now, at first glance, it's a beautiful picture. It's a beautiful picture of some clouds and some beautiful trees, shrubbery. There's some things going on at the bottom that aren't really maybe apparent to you just looking at it here on the video on YouTube. But what's going on at the bottom is very, very important. To give you some context, this painting was done by a man named Jean-Honoré Fragonard. He lived from 1732 to 1806. The French Revolution was from 1789 to around the year 1800. They kind of vary depending on which website you look at, which history book you look at as to when it exactly ended. But basically it went for 11 to 12 years, around 1789 to 1800, around in there. And the French Revolution was a tough, tough time. It was a horrible period in France. I won't even go into the history of it because people pretty much know that. And also, it also depends on how you want to look at it as to the good and bad of it. But it was a tough, tough time. And it was a time of suffering for many. Now, Jean-Honoré Fragonard's vocation in life was as an artist. And he was very good at what he did. So he ended up being hired by a lot of aristocratic families to come to their homes and to make paintings, portraits of them, family paintings, groupings. And so that's what he did for a living. Now, it didn't make him part of the aristocracy because he didn't have the financial life that they had, but it made him pretty much close in contact with the aristocracy. And he was able to observe many, many things. And what he observed was that he did not feel that they were completely aware of the feelings of the people in France, that they were out of touch with those feelings of the people in France, and that there was this storm cloud brewing in their country, and that they were just playing and they weren't really paying attention. So let's go back again and look at the painting. And I want to focus in on a few little items to kind of give you an idea of where his thoughts were when he was painting this. Now, as you can see, these clouds that you noticed when you first looked at it, they take up 2/3 of the canvas. Even though he was hired to paint the rich people and their families, he put them at the bottom, almost in minuscule proportion to these clouds brewing in the sky. And as you can see, if you look again at them, they're not just clouds, they're storm clouds brewing. They are storm clouds gathering and gathering and gathering. They haven't exploded into rain yet. You haven't seen the lightning and thunder yet, but the clouds are brewing. He painted this painting between 1775 to 1780. So he was about 43 to 48 years old when he painted this. And he was able to sit back and observe, and he saw what was coming. He may not have understood the context of exactly what would happen with the French Revolution, but he saw that there was a growing sentiment that these people playing and having their games was not a good thing. But apparently they didn't see it coming at all. So if we go down to the bottom of the painting and focus in on some of the groupings that he painted towards the bottom, we'll be able to see what's going on a little bit better. On the one hand, they're just playing, literally playing. They're playing blind man's bluff. They're frolicking, they're giggling, they're playing, their arms are outstretched, they haven't a care in the world. They're just playing, and they're not focusing on anything but that little game right in that courtyard right around them. To go to another part of the painting, they're eating. They're not eating as the peasants eat, though. Though they are eating outside in a garden, they're eating with a linen table. They have plenty of food. They're enjoying their meal. They're just having a great time at their little picnic. They're enjoying themselves. And there's many in France at this particular point in time that weren't enjoying themselves, that weren't eating like this. Another part of the painting just shows they're flirting and they're frolicking and they're just having the best time, just worrying about their own relationships. And if you look at all of these different little images that are at the bottom of the screen, And then you put that in context with the big clouds brewing behind them. You kind of start feeling what he was feeling when he was commissioned to go to these estates and these homes and paint for these people who were so out of touch with the people that they ruled over. Now, you could say to yourself, well, Lainey, are you talking about we need a revolution in America or whatever? That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that this painting influenced my life and how I look at things. I sometimes I do get very frustrated because I do feel like our system in America is to elect people to go represent us. We elect them. Sometimes we even know them personally. And then they go to represent us, and sometimes that's not what they do. They get caught up in this world. They get caught up in the money, in the games, in the restaurants and the playing and the free flights to this place or that place. And that's what bothers me, is when I feel like people are out of touch, because so many people are hurting, and these inflationary times are just going to keep pinching and crunching people and hurting people. And I feel like sometimes what is frustrating is when people don't listen, when people aren't really listening. That's what's frustrating. And so this painting has come to my mind many, many times lately. I want to tell them, you need to listen. You need to pay attention to us. You're not listening. You're not listening. But that's my discernment. That's what I've come up with. In your own lives, if you could kind of keep this painting in your mind and think to yourself, where am I in that painting? Where am I? Because I'd be hypocritical to say that I'm always like Jean-Honoré Fragonard, and I'm always the observer, and I'm always setting myself in a position where I feel like I'm just knowledgeable about what I'm observing. Sometimes I might be those people playing at the bottom. Sometimes I might not be paying attention. I think whenever we get all diverted into television shows, and I'll be honest, I don't have Netflix, but I'm saying when we get diverted into things like Netflix series, when we get diverted into the media, when we sit on our couch for hours and just do nothing but look at our Facebook, we're kind of like those people at the bottom that are just playing. We're just playing. We're wasting time, and we're not realizing what's going on around us. We need to be more observant. We need to be more like the painter was, when he was able to just be still, do his work, but observe. Observe the world around him. He was able to purge those thoughts and put them onto a painting that has lived forever. It's at the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. right now, or it was when I went. And it's actually even more impactful if you see that painting in person, because even looking at it in the book, in Sister Wendy's book that I bought, I just thought it was a normal size little 3 by 4 foot painting or something like that. It's actually not. It's about a 8 foot by 8 foot painting that when you walk up to it, it is huge. And that's when you really get the impact of how small those people are, because you're looking down at them in that painting. You're looking down at them, and you're looking eye level with those clouds and those storms coming. So this may be a long way around to tell you how I think. I just think that there are storm clouds brewing. I think that you need to use your own discernment, though. And if you come to the conclusion that everything's okay and there's not much to worry about, then live your peaceful life. Live your life and take care of your family and just live your life. I know that a lot of people don't really see what I see. I'm sure a lot of people didn't see what Jean-Honoré Fragonard saw. They probably looked at that painting and thought, ooh, he's going to get in trouble because he didn't really highlight the aristocracy very well. He highlighted all these trees and clouds. But he knew, and he knew what he knew. And he expressed it in the best way he could through his medium, which was painting. I'm expressing it the best way I can right now through the medium that I'm choosing, which is my videos. I would hope that you could take all the information that you have, that God's given you, and I would hope you could take that information in and kind of come up with the conclusion that there are storm clouds brewing, that you need to prepare, or at the very least you need to be paying attention so that your family's taken care of, so that you're safe, so that you have the basic necessities just in case. And it's like I tell everybody, because I get laughed at. I did a pantry video. I've had people walk in my pantry and laugh because they're like, oh my God, you're one of those preppers. You're one of those doomsday people. My theory has always been, if things don't happen that you think are going to happen, ever, you just eat it. What is the trouble of having extra food? What is the trouble of having extra water? You just eat it. You just start really cooking. Don't go out and eat, and just start cooking. And you'll save all the money you spent on it. You'll save at the back end by not having to grocery shop all the time and not going out to eat, because you'll just have all kind of food available for your family. So that's the way I look at it. But in the meantime, pay attention to all the information you're given. Pay attention to sources that you trust. Pay attention to research that good people are trying to do to bring us information. Before you discount it, look into it. Think about it. That's what discernment is. Discernment is not just taking in everything you see and hear and reacting to it. Discernment is placing it in your life in such a way that you have filtered it through prayer, through knowledge, through research, through discussions. Talk with your family, your spouse, and use that discernment that came from your knowledge, and you're filtering it through your life to see if what you're hearing is correct and is right for you to listen to. And then after you come to your conclusions, then act. And I believe that in the end, we'll all make the best decisions for ourselves. And that's all we can do. I'm making the best decisions I can for my husband and my son and I who live here, and the best decisions that I can for my daughter and her family and my beautiful grandchildren, who are always at the forefront of everything I do. I hope you enjoyed the painting. I hope you kind of understood where I'm coming from with that. And I just hope we can all get through this episode in history together, triumphant, and we come out better in the end. This is Lainey from Camp Joy Farms. I thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.